The trouble is, of course, the one advantage of being woke, of being of the left, is that with most of the media, you never have to be factual. Climate Council Chairman Tim Flannery, who's a climate activist and climate alarmist, not a climate scientist, he's often presented by the leftist media as a climate expert. This, even though his alarmism over the years, warnings of permanent droughts and empty dams and the like, they've always been proven to be wrong.
Even the rain that falls isn't actually going to fill our dams and our river system. Even the rain that falls isn't actually going to fill our dams and our river system.
Well, today Flannery was out and about again, announcing he was going to Glasgow, the Glasgow Climate Conference next week. You got to love how these people never worry about their own carbon footprints, but he'll be off there in Glasgow bagging his own country again. In the Sydney Morning Herald, Flannery wrote today about this climate council, his climate council, claiming Australia is running dead last of all developing nations when it comes to climate action. It's a silly list. It didn't even consider China. And the alarmism was rife. As Flannery wrote, we have entered a new age of mega fires, deadly heat waves, monster storms and catastrophic floods. This is just fear-mongering, political fear-mongering, climate hysteria. It's more about language than science, all about adjectives and rhetoric, not facts. Bushfires are now mega fires. They just make this word up. Heat waves are now deadly heat waves. Storms are now monster storms, and floods are now catastrophic floods. I mean, this stuff is just so transparent. It's dumb. It aims to frighten people, but it insults their intelligence. It's not science, it's not debate, it's not rational, and tragically, from most of the media, it's not challenged. On ABC Radio this morning, Flannery had another free run, never asked to justify his failed predictions or his alarmism. Now he says that even net zero by 2050 won't be enough.
And we've seen the consequences of it with bushfires and so forth. That will only get much, much worse unless we rein in those emissions. So having a target that doesn't meet that doesn't deliver meaningful action is useless. You know, once we hit those tipping points, those earth tipping points, nothing we do will count.
Yeah, coalition government can never do enough for these people, never. And there's always a tipping point, always a looming catastrophe. And there's always one country that's most in the frame. Not the US, certainly not China, not India, not Russia. It's always the same country, that bogeyman down under.
Look, I think there'll be a lot of pressure on Australia because almost everyone now has realised how important this is and how critical it is to get that urgent action. And if Australia's a laggard, that reputation will stick with us well into the future and it will have consequences.
Australia is the country that has supported and enriched Flannery. It's even made him Australian of the Year once, can you believe that? But he goes overseas to bag Australia. And no matter how wrong Flannery gets it, he's not pulled up by the left. The man who encouraged desal plants to be built in all our major cities, $12 billion worth of white elephants, he gets a free pass in the media. While Flannery is in Glasgow next week criticising his country, former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull will be there doing the same thing, and mining magnate Twiggy Forrest will be there praising China, I presume, which just makes me wonder why Scott Morrison should bother going along and associating himself with this charade. He'll get no thanks from that crowd.